I'm a big fan of Happiest season. I think it's a damn good movie. And Clea Duvall did a great job. And Ewan Mackenzie did a great job. So that scene is an example of one of the scenes where, as I watched the movie, I was yelling at the screen because it was so painful what your character had to go through, where this woman goes home to her family and decides that you have to be a secret, that she can't be open about her relationship with you.
Irredeemable. Mackenzie. Totally JK about that. Mackenzie had a hard time in that movie, like, subsequently, because I feel like, because it is such a painful experience, and it's obviously so much easier to relate to the person who's being, you know, made to feel sensitive in that very moment. But Mackenzie's like dealing with a clogging of pain that is years and years old. So for me, I watched that girl's face, like, not being able to be totally honest with her partner, and I'm like, sure, maybe Abby's angry in that moment, but Harper's like dying. I don't know, I like that perspective of the movie. Also, Mary Steenburgen is about to come in and say, she is very heavy-footed, which is kind of the button on that scene that it's like one of my favorite lines in the movie, because I am very heavy-footed. I like walked in my house and everyone's like, what elephant is charging around?
It was far from a Happy Prince Netflix holiday movie, and yet it racked up enormous views. And I have to assume that it felt really good to be in your skin as a gay woman playing that role.
Good. It felt good for me, too. And yeah, and it was nice to do, you know, this was like during a time where we were all falling in love with Portrait of a Lady on Fire, and there were, like, you know, there were a couple movies that were really, really satisfying. This was satisfying in a different way. It was nice to sort of be straight down the line, ironically, with a holiday Christmas movie.
So you've navigated between being gossiped about on the public stage, and you've revealed your sexuality openly. You're now engaged to be married, right?
Yeah.
How challenging was that journey for you, navigating all of those moments and having to do it in public?
I think the hardest part has sort of been, like, finding the right words for it, because everyone's experience is different, and, like, you know, going back to that moment of smoking a bowl with my dog Oz on the porch of my house, at that point I was not hiding anything. As an actor, you just want to reveal yourself, and so it's really counterintuitive to be like, wait, but not here. In my private life? Like, what is that? I'm an actor. I don't really want a private life. I don't want the details of my life to be, like, sort of like just disgustingly consumed and commodified, but at the same time, I don't want to hide anything, nor was I. You know, the first woman that I dated, Dylan, I love you. I was, like, going outside and we were holding hands, and it definitely didn't seem like we were friends, but unless you say the words, because words matter, you know, you're not fully out yet. My experience was very, really fortunately, not the most wrought experience. It was confusing for other people. I was fine. Yeah, you know, I was one way for a long time, and I was not a different way once I, you know, started dating other people. It's, you know, it's one of those things. I've talked about this a lot, blah, blah.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Let's talk about Spencer.
Okay.
So in this case, let's start with the accent. How hard was that, to do the posh accent, knowing that everyone knew what she sounded like, what she looked like? You were imitating someone, but you weren't. You were channeling something that was you and her.
Yeah, we definitely went for a sort of concentric circle situation. There was no way that I could have ever possibly gotten this person right or done a perfect job at this job. She is so alive. And her energy in a room, in a picture, in a video at all times feels like something really bad might happen or something really great might happen. But nothing is not going to be the result of whatever this scenario is. It always just feels like she's hiding something. There's a delicacy and a strength that hold hands that's just like so unique and reflected the individuality of a nation, and just was like, wow, so we can exist? Like, we can be real people? That's a miracle. That is miraculous. It was really scary because she is cool and she is a good person. You can feel it immediately. But the talent that she had to bring people together and be somebody who, is the first person to like reach out and want to touch people, but she's not allowed to be touched. And that pain is constantly present. This sort of stifled, muzzled thing where she's not allowed to talk, but she's revered and loved and celebrated for all the things that she kind of can't really, those things aren't satisfying to her. I feel that from her every time. I mean, these could be projections, these could just be my experiences, but they're mine, and that's what we put in the movie. Because, obviously I never met her. But in terms of the accent and stuff like that, I just wanted to fall in love with a few aspects, really hang my hat on those things, and then actually kind of be myself.
It worked.
Because who else can I be? Yeah. And, I had a really great coach. I had a coach that I worked with for 4 months, and her voice is so unique, and the way she communicates is, like I said, so sideways and so cryptic, and so every move, every look, every intonation that feels like it's desperately trying to communicate. We kind of picked a few moments and then went like, oh man, I need to shove that into this movie somehow. And I had like a list of like kind of little idiosyncratic things, tonal, whatever. She's impossible to not absorb. Literally, you spend enough time absorbing that energy, and like anybody who has a sparkly thing, anybody who has a kind of undeniable energy, reflected. I would have had to be such a sociopath not to be like, oh my God, I love her.
So I love the scenes with the little boys, where you get to see her be warm and loving, and she's in a safe place. And then the rest of it is so awful. The contrast was really remarkable. And she also hallucinates and gets delusional. So how did you navigate that with Pablo and the writer Stephen Knight?
The script is so well-researched, yet lacks detail. If you learn everything, if you read all the stuff, it's pretty unshakable. These 3 days totally never happened. But, regurgitating details and kind of like hitting every base that we already know, everyone knows what happened. Everyone's going to bring all of those details to this movie already. All of those details are projected, and the idea that Pablo endeavored to go inside and examine and pay credence to female feeling, that at that point she was petulant and she was annoying and she wasn't strong enough to live this life, and she was a nuisance, and she was also a serious threat because she was fucking powerful. And the whole stiff upper lip thing, it's impossible for this woman. You can see it. And I think, sometimes if you're like, movies can do something really cool. If you are dying, you'd be like, oh my God, I feel like my head's gonna explode. And instead of saying like, oh, I just feel like my head's gonna explode, he was like, okay, rip your necklace off, eat it, and then we're gonna explode your head. And it's like such a beautiful and caring male perspective. Like usually it would be more about what happened versus what it felt like. And you said that she's having delusions. I don't think she necessarily believes that those things are true. I think when you feel in the midst of trauma, you can feel crazy. And obviously she dealt with a lot of mental health issues in relation to body image and binging and purging. And that was all about like disappearing because she didn't feel like she was allowed to exist. And the sort of relief and shame spiral of that process is so metaphorical for what was happening. And it was just such an interesting way of telling this story. It was like so bold and committed to dreams versus reality. And sometimes those dreams are so much more important than what happened and who said, he said, she said bullshit.
Yeah, I agree. So you finally got an Oscar nomination. It happened. I was like Roger. I was rooting for you. I really was. Because it was such a great performance. They had to see that. They had to recognize that. So what's it been like to be on the circuit, to be out and about? Careful what you wish for.
Yeah, that was me. Please, 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 please. I was shocked. Zero, false modesty is the most embarrassing thing ever. I was stunned. I never like saw myself in this realm, you know? Like I don't always say the right thing. Sometimes that is what does it. And I love this movie. I love the people that made this movie. It totally makes sense that like somebody like Diana getting close to something that bright. What I take away from it mainly is how much fun it was to do this movie. And it is a time that is hard and sad and tumultuous, and we are touching things that are hot, and they burn, but I was just elated because like, I think she made me feel that way. I think she made everyone feel that way. I think that even though there are things we can't know about her and she's such a mystery, those are only the things in between. And so if she was fully knowable or expressed, we wouldn't still be talking about her. She's just like casting shadows. She will not leave us. I felt this power. I felt taller playing her. I felt like I could like bring people together. I feel like I could like put my arms around people in a completely cheesy, like conceptual, metaphorical bullshit way. I mean it. Like I really felt like I felt this power, even if it was totally made up by me and something I was convincing myself of. Her life helped me do that, and that felt good. It felt so good. I had so much fun. Yeah.
It shows. So you finished Crimes of the Century, and you worked with David Cronenberg.
Crimes of the Future.
Of the Future.
Yeah. I did.
And now we're going to see that. Do we know when?
I don't know when. Oh, well, no, I don't. No, I have not seen it yet. I can't wait to see that movie. I think all of the actors on that movie would go and have dinner after work and be like, what is this about? What are we doing?
It's like Viggo Mortensen. It's a great cast.
Yeah, Lea Seydoux in it. Scott Speedman's in it. It was really, really good. And Scott Speedman is the nicest guy. Yeah.
All right. We are done, believe it or not.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You were awesome. It was
you
really
are
fun.
awesome.